All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian with you guys. And one of my favorite stories today is Tucker Carlson crying about how Christians just can't catch a break in this country. So we'll do that.
Or in other countries.
No.
There's a lot of unfair treatment toward Christians.
Yes, and America is a huge part of that, because you know how much America hates Christians.
The reality is there's a war on Easter, and that's the lead, and they're just burying it. Everyone's burying it. There's a war on Easter.
Yeah, and on Christmas, obviously. And no, that's it. No, there's no war on Festivus. I thought for a second there might be, but I think that one, there was an armistice right before it got started. Although you would need some sort of war, I think, before an armistice. Anyways, all right, let's do the stories.
I want to start off with fun. And there's nothing more fun than Donald Trump crying. Donald Trump executed what he is best at, crying on Twitter about non-issues. And of course, it has to do with the media and its treatment of the most powerful man literally in the world. So Donald Trump goes on this rant saying, quote, "In the old days, if you were president and you had a good economy, you were basically immune from criticism. Remember, it's the economy, stupid. Today I have, as president, perhaps the greatest economy in history, and to the mainstream media, it means nothing, but it will." Okay.
All right, let's break that one down. First of all, in the old days, if you had a good economy, like let's say Bill Clinton had an astounding economy, you were immune from criticism, except for the fact that Bill Clinton got impeached. Oops. And then he says, remember, it's the economy, stupid. You know who's saying that was? Bill Clinton.
I actually didn't know that was Bill Clinton's
That's right.
statement. Okay.
Yes, that was during his campaign, and getting his campaign team to focus on the economy, and that's how you win elections. And so he's amazing. The fact, like, he walked right into it, right? And
how did Hillary Clinton not take her husband's advice there?
Yeah.
When she was running.
Well, she didn't take his advice on a couple of different grounds. He kept screaming that she should go to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And they're like, old washed up Bill Clinton, what would he know? Oops, okay. But wait a minute, I thought he was immune from criticism because he had a great economy.
By the way, guess what? The media does applaud you for the economy, and you don't deserve anyone applauding you. And I'm not making the argument that, the economy started improving under Obama and you can't take credit. I'm not even making that argument. The economy actually sucks for a lot of people, and I'll explain why in just a second. But first, let me prove my point about how the media does give you credit over and over again for what they consider a great economy. In fact, the outlets that you criticize the most, CNN, Washington Post, they give you credit. Here's an example, CNN.
Something feels different about the Trump economy.
I've created over 1 million jobs since I'm president.
There's a momentum, an energy, a bravado.
The stock market is way up again today, and we're setting a record literally all the time.
It's as if corporate America, Wall Street, and even blue-collar workers suddenly have their mojo back.
We will buy American, and we will hire American.
It turns out the only thing the American economy was missing these last 10 years was confidence. And nobody is as confident as Donald J. Trump.
Well, the only thing the economy was missing over the last 10 years was confidence? Was confidence? What? And then the whole thing about blue collar workers are getting their mojo back. How? How are they getting their mojo back? Most of these jobs that have lowered the unemployment rate in America are part-time jobs, temporary jobs, jobs with incredibly low wages, very little benefits, if they have benefits at all. I mean, come on.
No, but look. I just need to be clear. That was not a Trump ad.
That was CNN.
That was a CNN report, news report from CNN. That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. But look, it's because the establishment does basically work for the wealthy. And so when the stock market is up, they're like, whatever, okay, yes, it's because the blue collar workers have their mojo back. Wages haven't gone up for blue collar workers in 40 years. What on God's green earth are you talking about? Did you go and talk to any blue collar workers? Do you have any facts to back that up? No, the economy runs on confidence. No, it doesn't. Man, by the way, she's not the first one to make that up. It's a mythology put out by the corporate media that, just these corporate executives, they just need a little confidence. And the way to give them confidence is to lower taxes so they all get richer. And that creates a stable economy that they can rely on and have confidence to do investments, except they didn't do investments, they did stock buybacks. So all of it is total nonsense. And it's that mythology aimed at lowering taxes, deregulation, created by the rich for the rich. And that infomercial was brought to you by CNN. And still Donald Trump cries.
Yeah, and he still cries, exactly. And CNN isn't the only outlet. I have seen mainstream media outlets tout his economic policies and the success of his economic policies over and over again. By the way, again, we've made this point a million times, but I want to make it one more time because you mentioned stock buybacks. Yes, the stock market's doing really well, but even conservatives are concerned about the bubble that's being created by corporate stock buybacks because it's artificially inflating the value of the shares. And so, I mean, that is a ticking time bomb. But with that said, let's go to Washington Post, another outlet that Trump targets and criticizes on a regular basis. But in reality, when it comes to Trump's huge handouts to corporations, Washington Post is all for it. Take a look.
The economy is hands down the best thing that's going for President Trump right now. But let's take a look at his report card on the economy and what we're likely to see in 2018. The first thing that he loves to talk about is the stock market. The Dow just passed 25,000 for the first time ever. He likes to call it the Trump bump. He gets an A+ for the stock market. It was up over 25% last year. And if you go all the way back to the election, it's up over 30%. Now you can nitpick how to compare that to President Obama. If you compare since Inauguration Day, President Obama is a little bit better. But if you go back to the election, President Trump did it even better than Obama did in his first year. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Trump loves to talk about it, and it was a key issue in the election. On that, I think I'd give him an A, very solid A. We saw great job growth last year, just over 2 million jobs. It was a tad smaller than what we saw in President Obama's final year in office. Trump had a great run with blue-collar jobs.
Again, not an infomercial, that's a report from Washington Post.
It's unbelievable.
But Donald Trump still cries, they're being unfair to me. They only gave me A+ and A and did these giant ads for me posing as news reports, never mentioning your wages, by the way. Never mentioning that I said I was gonna raise your wages and I haven't at all. In fact, if you account for inflation, your wages have gone down. But my rich friends took home a ton of money, and the people who run these multi-billion-dollar corporate media organizations love it. For example, Jeff Bezos, who owns Washington Post, well, his company, Amazon, paid $0 in taxes. Well, he loves the loopholes that Trump has. He didn't, to be fair, Democrats and Republicans do it. Obama did it, Bush did it, they all do it because they're all owned by the donors. And so, but Trump has continued it, and he said they were gonna do, we're gonna lower taxes, we're gonna take away the loopholes. They didn't take away any loopholes. Amazon is making more money than any company in the history of the world, and paid $0 in taxes.
Yeah, and when you like really think about it in your context as a middle class or working class American, you paid more in taxes, in federal taxes, than Amazon did. That is absurd. So, like, of course these corporations love it, and they don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican who's giving them access to these corporate tax loopholes. As long as they get to take advantage of it, they're happy. Now, Trump's rant continues, and I wanna go to graphic 3. He writes, I wonder if the New York Times will apologize to me a second time as they did after the 2016 election, but this one will have to be a far bigger and better apology. On this one, they will have to get down on their knees and beg for forgiveness. They are truly the enemy of the people. So I just wanna draw attention to the following headline from Politico that reads, New York Times to Trump, we did not apologize. This was published in 2017 following the first time Trump claimed that the New York Times had apologized to him for its unfair coverage of the Trump campaign. The New York Times did not apologize for that. In fact, they tweeted the following, false, we did not apologize. We stand by our coverage and thank our millions of subscribers for supporting our journalism.
Now, what they did do was they said to their readers, sorry that we missed the trend of Trump rising. That's not an apology to Trump. Trump won, there's nothing to apologize for. Saying that we should have spotted that trend better. But by the way, has the New York Times learned anything from that? Nope. So as Bernie Sanders rises, they're like, what name so? I don't know. Progressives, populists, either on the left or the right, we hate them, we're the New York Times. So we will treat them with great disdain. Later, we will apologize to our readers again for missing it because we can't get past our establishment blinders. But that's a separate issue. He's obviously lying that they apologized to Donald Trump himself. Now, but to me, the much more important line in that is, now I'm gonna read this line to you, but think about who else might have said a line like this. My top candidate is Joffrey Baratheon, okay? So from that same tweet, on this one, they will have to get down on their knees and beg for forgiveness. They are truly enemy of the people.
That does sound like Joffrey Baratheon.
I mean, it's exactly what Joffrey Baratheon would say. So this is the president of the United States of America demanding that the media get down on their knees and beg his forgiveness because otherwise they are the enemy of the people. Does that sound like an American president? It sounds like a dictator. It sounds like a king out of Game of Thrones, a very bad one at that. It sounds like someone who wants to crush the press and only have fawning coverage of him. That's just not our system of government. That's why I'm telling you guys, look, there's this, like these tweets are fun because they're unbelievable, they're shocking, they're outrageous, right? But they're not fun in that it is the president of the United States of America and he is deeply mentally unstable and does not believe in our system of government at all. So there's this constant assumption that he thinks like we think. Well, no, I mean, he wouldn't get rid of election. He wouldn't arrest his political opponents. That's not what we do in America. He would arrest his political opponents and say, have you not heard him? He says every day, why aren't we rounding up Democrats and putting them in jail? He says it every day, you know why? Because he means it.
So I think you make a valid point and it's concerning, but at the same time, it's, for me personally, it's more embarrassing, right? Because he is the most powerful man in the world and organizations like Turning Point USA, who back Trump to the death, have coined the phrase oppression Olympics in order to characterize the left. When in reality, the person that they support is constantly crying and whining about how everything is so unfair. Life is so unfair. The media is so unfair to me. Oh my God, come on, man. Isn't that embarrassing? And I'm saying it should be embarrassing for Trump, but of course he has no self-awareness. But isn't it embarrassing to Turning Point USA that you guys consistently support him when he acts like a child? Isn't it embarrassing to his base when you have someone who's supposed to be the epitome of an alpha male, but in reality, all he does with the vast majority of his time is whine and cry about how life isn't fair? He's a man in a tremendous position of privilege, and still he thinks life is so unfair. Life is so unfair for me.
You know, in Hunger Games, it was President Snow, wasn't it? Yeah, but here we have President Snowflake.
Totally.
And every day he cries on Twitter, and every day conservatives are like, that's right, that's what a real man does. They go and they cry and cry and cry about how unfair everybody's being, okay? And one day they're gonna apologize to me and beg for forgiveness. That's what they're gonna do. God, you're all so pathetic. And but to me, even the more pathetic part is you are following and idolizing a literal lunatic. Yeah. A guy who's lost his mind, who's like, I will make them beg for forgiveness. Oh, Psycho Joe, that's another tweet, about Joe Scarborough. He's sick, disturbing. Oh yeah, you're ready to go down. CNN, you're ready to go down. I mean, that's the president of the United States, and you're following that lunatic.
You know
Congratulations.
What? Let's play a fun game. Why don't we use the hashtag President Snowflake and use that hashtag on Twitter to describe your favorite Trump snowflake moment?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
That'll
Let's get that going, okay?
Yeah.
And you could do it to every Trump tweet where he cries. And just, ask him, when are you ever going to stop crying? Which leads us to another tweet. You got the Twitter one? His complaint, well, I can just tell you what it is. So he complained in this same series of tweets, oh my God, I would have 100 million Twitter followers if Twitter wasn't discriminating against me. Dude, you have 59 million subscribers. You're the president of the United States. You're the commander in chief. Just man up for a second, man. Like, what? You're crying that you have 59 million Twitter followers. Okay, and he says, oh, every once in a while they take away my Twitter for some of my Twitter followers. Yeah, because they're bots. They do that to everybody. They systematically clean. And it's like, no, it's always discrimination against conservatives. Dude, if everybody's discriminating against you, how'd you become president? Like it doesn't occur to him that he's actually the most powerful man on earth.
Yeah.
Because he's too busy crying, right? And so, no, look, we've elected also basically another Alex Jones as president. He believes every conspiracy theory. Oh yeah, Twitter's definitely cheating against the president. Yeah, because that won't get noticed at all, okay? And so if there's one person that has no power that they're picking on, it's the president of the United States. Yeah, that's likely. Yeah, that's very likely. Because that's what people in power do. They go, let me pick a fight with someone more powerful so I can get in a lot of trouble. No, usually they pick on the powerless, right? So anyway, in this case, there's no conspiracy. It's never been, there's no proof of it whatsoever. But he'll believe Obama wasn't born here. No way, okay? And I don't believe that he even got the good grades at Columbia or at Harvard, okay? And Twitter is taking away my bot followers, okay? And hashtag President Snowflake.
So lame. Anyway, all right.
No, seriously, if you idolize Donald Trump, you are such a sad loser.
It's embarrassing. It's
such a loser, man. Like to have this guy crying all over Twitter and to be like, that's my hero. He's so strong. The way he just goes out there and says weirdo things and then says he's the victim. I love victims. I can't believe the liberals have a victim ideology.
It's amazing, it really is. So let's talk a little bit about impeachment. That topic is the cause of a little bit of infighting for the Democrats, and I think there's a good reason for it. So let's talk about it. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been clear with other members of the House and also the Senate is having a similar debate about impeachment. Now, Nancy Pelosi has been clear in saying, I don't think that impeachment is a good idea. She held a call with House Democrats this week, and during that call, she made her case. She said, quote, we have to save our democracy. This isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It's about saving our democracy. If it is what we need to do to honor our responsibility to Congress, if that's the place.
To the Constitution.
Oh, to the Constitution. Sorry about that. To honor our responsibility to the Constitution, if that's the place the facts take us, that's the place we have to go. Now, that makes it seem as though she's in favor of impeachment, but what she's saying there is, no, let's hold. I don't think it's a good idea right now. There are a number of investigations happening, and we should wait to see where these investigations lead us. She also continued to say, I know it's going to take courage on the part of all of our members to stick with a program that might not be as fast as they want. But again, I confess to you, and I say this to even my good friend Val Demings, who by the way wants impeachment, for whom I have the highest esteem, I'm not struggling with this decision, meaning I'm not struggling with whether or not to impeach him. I do not want to proceed with impeachment proceedings.
Yeah. So usual Democratic weak leadership. It's not the resistance, it's hashtag submission. And it was immediate. The surrender was so swift. Pelosi sent Steny Hoyer out, her number 2 in charge, within 4 hours of the actual Mueller report coming out to say, we are sorry, we will not impeach. Donald Trump is our leader, we will not impeach. We are so sorry. God, they're so pathetic.
So let me just jump in for a second. Normally I would agree with you, and there are, of course, establishment Democrats like Nancy Pelosi who are incredibly weak. They don't want to fight. Now, the reason that they give is, look, this could actually backfire politically. We've discussed that on the show. I don't really want to, relitigate that. But Nancy Pelosi isn't the only one, right? In fact, there are a number of presidential candidates, some of whom we are pretty supportive of, who also don't want to move forward with impeachment. And I want to go to a video that kind of outlines all that.
Before we do though, I want to launch our petition, okay? Because I don't agree at all. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders, I don't care who it is, okay? No, we fight on principle, not based on political expediency. So you cannot let the president be above the law. So we're launching this petition right now, and it's on tyt.com/impeach. And it says, now that the Mueller report has come out and has indicated the president has committed a clear crime, obstruction of justice, Congress should immediately move to impeach Donald J. Trump. This is his second provable crime, the other being campaign finance violations. If Congress does not act, it sends an unacceptable message that the president is above the law. I, the undersigned, believe in America and our democracy and ask Congress to enforce the law. TYT.com/impeach to sign it. Look, maybe 1 million signatures will get their attention because all they care about is politics for the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. So, okay, then let's show them our political force and our strength. Okay, now let's go to people we don't like and do like and look at the video, and then we'll discuss further on whether it's the right thing to do.
The impeachment proceedings are up to the House. They're gonna have to make that decision. I am in the Senate, so if the House brings the impeachment proceedings before us, we will deal with them. There is a third way to hold this president accountable, and that is by defeating him in the 2020 election.
If any other human being in this country had done what's documented in the Mueller report, they would be arrested and put in jail. And the tool that we are given for that accountability is the impeachment process. This is not about politics. This is about principle.
At the end of the day, what is most important to me is to see that Donald Trump is not reelected president. If for the next year, year and a half, going right into the heart of the election, all that the Congress is talking about is impeaching Trump and Trump and Mueller. And we're not talking about healthcare. We're not talking about raising the minimum wage to a living wage. What I worry about is that works to Trump's advantage.
This president and his administration engaged in obstruction of justice. I believe Congress should take the steps towards impeachment. I'm also a realist. I've not seen any evidence to suggest that they will weigh on the facts instead of on partisan adherence to being protective of this president. And that's what concerns me and what will be the eventual outcome. So we have to be realistic about what might be the end result, but that doesn't mean the process should not take hold.
I think he's made it pretty clear that he deserves impeachment. But I'm also gonna leave it to the House and Senate to figure that out, because my role in the process is trying to relegate Trumpism to the dustbin of history while we're making sure there is oversight and accountability, which there's gotta be. We've also got to make sure we're talking about the things that most affect people in an immediate and concrete sense. I mean, it's hard to look away from a horror show. That's just how it is. It's mesmerizing, but we have got to figure out a way to change the channel.
Okay, so there is a couple of different camps here. So there are the people who say, look, I want to focus on policy. That's largely Bernie Sanders. There are the people who talk out of both sides of their mouth. Oh my God, he's got impeachment coming. But I ain't got nothing to do with it. That's the House.
I'm gonna leave it to the House and the Senate.
I'm gonna leave it to the House. That's Klobuchar and Buttigieg, right?
Yeah, and Buttigieg is the mayor, so yeah, of course you're gonna leave it to the House and the Senate.
Yeah, nobody asked you to go and prosecute. You're not in the House. We get that. We're asking you, do you think they should do it? But overall, I still don't agree with Bernie Sanders. And so he says, oh, that's all the Congress is gonna do. What do you think they're gonna do now? Okay, so if I thought we had a shot at Medicare for all and this was gonna distract it, then I'm having a conversation. It's not like Kamala Harris rightfully points out, even though I don't like that framing, oh, well, there's more Republicans in the Senate, so it's unlikely that it's going to happen. There's also more Republicans in the Senate, so Medicare for all is not going to happen. Besides which, Nancy Pelosi hates Medicare for all and doesn't want it to happen. So it's not even gonna get it out of the House. It's not even gonna get voted in the House unless we put an enormous amount of pressure. So they're gonna sit around for 2 years doing nothing anyway. So just in terms of Congress, so you might as well do something, which is enforce the law.
Yeah.
And put principle above politics, even if you thought it was bad politics, and I don't think it's bad politics.
So, you know who actually persuaded me on this? Because I was on the fence. I didn't know how I felt about impeachment, and I was actually leaning toward, let's just focus on getting him out of office. Let's get someone else elected in. That's more important than wasting our time with something that Republicans in the Senate are not gonna vote in favor of, right? But Elizabeth Warren made such a compelling point yesterday, because even if the end result isn't what we'd want, which is impeachment, the reality is this is about ensuring that you set a precedent and you make sure that the president of the United States is not above the law. There were definitely findings in that report, obstruction of justice findings that were beyond problematic. And Mueller left it to Congress to do something about it, and to know that we have members of Congress, especially members of the Democratic Party, who are like, oh, this is gonna be too tough and it might be politically unpopular, so we're not gonna fight. That's pathetic. You wanna make sure that you hold Trump's feet to the fire. And it's not just about Trump, it's about the future of the presidency, and it's about ensuring that Congress does its job, which is provide a important part of the checks and balances that are written in our Constitution.
And also, we can't have somebody be above the law. That's not what this country is. So look, the campaign finance violations, having somebody else make payments to your campaign, people go to prison for that all the time. You know who went to prison for it? A guy I got no love for at all, Dinesh D'Souza, weirdo, right winger, etc. But he broke a law that was very, very similar. He broke the same law as Donald Trump, and under very similar circumstances as Donald Trump, and he went to jail for it. You know who else is going to go to jail for it? Donald Trump's co-conspirator in this case, Michael Cohen. He's going to prison for 3 years. So now when Pelosi says, nah, I'm gonna do more investigation. Nah, I don't really want to do it. I think the politics is bad. She always thinks surrender is the best politics. That's all she's ever done. Same with Schumer. It's like, oh, I got a great idea on politics. Let's surrender right away, surrender, right? No, that's not good politics. Fighting is good politics. Making your own case is good politics. So it's completely unfair to every other American that he doesn't have to follow the law and that no one is going to enforce it. And on obstruction of justice, his second felony. Mueller report very clearly lays out at least 5 excellent reasons why he committed obstruction of justice and says Congress should do something about this. We don't think the Department of Justice can indict a sitting president, but Congress certainly can take action. And Mueller made a huge mistake. He assumed that the Democrats had a spine. What a terrible assumption. The Democrats are like, oh, you told us to do something about it. Oh, no, I can't. That would require me to do something in my life. And look, why is Pelosi and Schumer in this camp? Because as Nancy Pelosi herself admitted, Donald Trump's great for fundraising. So they've raised a lot of money, the Democrats have, using Trump as the boogeyman. That's all they care about.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add more to that because the reason that Democrats like Nancy Pelosi cite for not pursuing impeachment is because they claim they're worried that it would be politically unpopular and that it would backfire in the polls, that people would look at Trump as someone who's being treated unfairly by members of Congress. But at the same time, Nancy Pelosi is arguing, instead of doing these impeachment proceedings, why don't we focus on doing these investigations? And so there have been a number of subpoenas for Trump's taxes, number of subpoenas when it comes to Trump's security clearances. Those subpoenas are gonna have, and those investigations are gonna have the same type of, optical effect that you would get from impeachment proceedings, right? So for those who think that there's some sort of witch hunt against Donald Trump, if there were impeachment proceedings, they're gonna think the same thing when it comes to these investigations. It's not gonna change. When it comes to optics, it's gonna appear to be the same thing.
Look, they keep saying this nonsense talking point. Oh, it's only gonna help Trump because it'll get his voters energized. His voters are already energized. They came out and his base came out in record numbers in 2016. They actually came out in great numbers in 2018. The Democrats just had slightly better numbers in turnout, right? So it's not like they were dispirited or anything in 2016. They keep like, oh, don't offend Republicans because then they might come out and vote. They come out and vote anyway, you morons. So no, yes, you're supposed to fight the other party. That's what you're supposed to do in an election, not tiptoe around them and be like, oh, I don't want to anger the Republicans. Are you guys okay? The Republicans, are you okay? Whereas the Republicans come in and punch Democrats in the face every single election. Do you ever see Mitch McConnell or Ted Cruz go, I don't want to offend Democratic voters? Hilarious. When they attack Democrats, they go, oh, no, this is a big gift to Nancy Pelosi. I can't believe we attacked Democrats. That was a big gift to Chuck Schumer. Never said. Think about that disparity. And again, the corporate media never points out that disparity. It's amazing and unbelievable. And so, lastly, on Anna's point about more investigations and the polling. So, you're gonna do more investigations, Pelosi? There's like a year and a half left. Well, like when they conclude a year from now, well, then we'll have a 4-month window. What you're saying is, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do impeachment. I'm not ever gonna do it. Now, are they right about the politics? Last thing. So yes, I've made this case 1,000 times. Fighting actually gets you to better results, and the Republicans have proved that through their strategy. And the Democrats lost 1,000 seats cowering in a corner from the Republicans. So those are facts. And so their strategies are proven failure over and over again. But right now, Donald Trump's approval rating stands at 39%. That's terrible. I remember when Bush slipped into the 30s and there was like a panic. And everybody's like, oh my God, a president is in the 30s. That's terrible. Can the Republican Party ever recover, et cetera? Trump is at 39%. Everybody's like, oh, he's on top of the world. Don't anger Trump voters, don't anger Trump. You're so scared, you're so sad. So, and you know, they asked in that same poll, would you definitely vote for Trump, consider voting for Trump, definitely not vote for Trump, et cetera. 24% say they're definitely gonna vote for Trump. By the way, that's a bad number for him. I thought his immovable base was 28% based on other polling. Apparently it has moved. It's only 24%, that's a terrible number. What percentage say that they will definitely vote against Trump? 49%. That does not include the people who are likely to vote against Donald Trump or are on the fence or probably going to vote. None of that. Just definitely going to vote against Trump is at 49%. That's a monster number. He is deeply unpopular and still the Democrats are afraid of their own shadow. Pathetic. Look, the last line of this petition is the most important. Ask Congress to enforce the law. TYT.com/impeach.
When we come back from the break, we are going to give you an update on the Federal Reserve and Trump's nominees for the Federal Reserve. Lots of drama, I love it.
Total circus, clown show, a bunch of jugglers. We'll tell you about it when we come back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. Hey guys, back on the Young Turks. Little issue with our Twitter machine. So Anna, what's next?
I want to tell you guys about something awesome that's going to be happening soon. Tomorrow on The Conversation, Meta World Peace. That's right. He's going to be on the show. It's going to be great. He's going to have a conversation with Cenk. I was waiting for the pit bull horns. They didn't come, but it's okay. So this will be great. I'm really looking forward to that. And you're going to have a great interview today too.
Yeah, I got 2 good interviews. I got Max Blumenthal coming on, but also Dana Milbank from the Washington Post. He wrote that article comparing Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump. And so that should be an interesting conversation. Don't miss the 3rd hour of today's show. Obviously, members get all of it, tyt.com/join. Anna, let's do it.
All right. Donald Trump has named 2 individuals to serve on the Federal Reserve. One of those individuals was Herman Cain and the other was Stephen Moore. Now, Herman Cain is no longer up for consideration and Stephen Moore is, but there are some issues there and the drama is incredible. So let's start off with Herman Cain. Now, Herman Cain claims that he has told Donald Trump that he doesn't want to serve on the Federal Reserve and that he has asked Trump to not name him. Now, in reality, I think that it's a lot more complicated. There have been a number of Republicans Republican senators specifically, who said that they would not vote to confirm Herman Cain. Mitt Romney was one of them. And so Herman Cain says, no, I'm gonna put out an op-ed explaining what's really going on, and I'm gonna read you some of the excerpts here. So he says, after I went through phase 1 of the background check, which involves my 50-year business career being picked over like a carcass, I was told they were next checking everything I'd ever written for anything that could be controversial. This includes my time with the North Star Writers Group before we started this site, 6 years of weekly columns on just about every issue under the sun. So he's making an argument that, look, they're gonna find something, right? If you're looking, you're gonna find something, and I don't really wanna go through that process.
Yeah, well, with Herman Cain, they're gonna find a lot of things.
Right, remember when he was running in 2012, there were sexual harassment allegations against him. There was a woman who came forward and said she had a long-term affair with him. So, yeah.
The affair is less troubling than the sexual harassment.
Right.
And there were more than one women that came forward, and that was before the Me Too movement. I mean, you open up that can of worms, and it's not going to play well for Herman Cain. And apparently, the things he wrote are terrible as well. But he says none of that was the real reason. Well, it certainly partly was the real reason. There's a second part to the real reason, but. And keep going.
Then he talks about how serving on the Federal Reserve would negatively impact his ability to make money. He says, I would have to, this is hilarious. I would have to let go of most of my business interests. I could not serve on any boards. I could not do any paid speeches. I could not advocate on behalf of capitalism. That is, I mean, that's my favorite part. You would be on the Federal Reserve, okay? You would be on the Federal Reserve. Let me continue reading the rest of it.
How will capitalism recover without Herman Cain advocating on behalf of it? Perhaps by executing capitalism, like as in carrying out capitalism on the board of the Federal Reserve.
Right.
Anyway, let's keep going.
And he says that he wouldn't be able to host my radio show or make appearances on Fox Business.
I'm gonna make a side point here, but it's important. So look at the things that he labeled there. None of them are real businesses. They are all ways of funneling money to people who will say what Republicans wanna hear, especially if you're a minority who is saying things that Republicans wanna hear and right-wingers wanna hear. Paid speeches given to people by corporate interests and rich people, etc. And going on Fox News. Hey, I got a black guy on Fox News telling me that the culture of the black people are wrong, and et cetera, et cetera. Every single thing that he talked about was not an actual business. It was just being paid to be a show for rich folks in this country who don't like minorities.
So this next part was my personal favorite. He writes, I also started wondering if I'd be giving up too much influence to get a little bit of policy impact. With my current media activities, I can reach close to 4 million people a month with the ideas I believe in. So I don't know, maybe I'm the one living under a rock, but Herman Cain had influence? Like, one of the things that stood out about Trump potentially naming him as a nominee was the fact that Herman Cain has been MIA. Like, no one's been thinking about Herman Cain, no one's considered Herman Cain. Herman Cain was not on the mind of any Americans at all, at all.
In fact, when Americans were asked, are you thinking about Herman Cain? They answered 999. Okay, so, but I did love that quote, because if he has so much influence with the 4 million people he's reaching per month, that he's willing to turn down a Federal Reserve seat. Well, since we reach about 250 million people a month, I guess we're 60 times more powerful than a person sitting on the board of the Federal Reserve. That does make me feel pretty good. Okay, hey, Federal Reserve, don't even ask, don't even think about it. 60 times more powerful than you.
But look, I know what really happened. He claims it was my decision. I'm the one who doesn't want to serve on the board. Remember when it was first reported that it was likely that Trump would name him, he was very excited. He put out, I believe, an op-ed talking about how excited he is and what he would do. And what I find interesting is, look, the real reason is, I think senators, even Republican senators, were weirded out by the reminder that he put this out back in 2012. His ad. That was part of his ad, but it was creepy.
All right, no, in all seriousness, guys, let me prove to you that his excuse is a lie. So how does he make money? He said going on Fox News, being on the boards of companies, paid speeches, right? Every one of those categories would be greatly enhanced if he sat on the Federal Reserve. Not at the time that he sits on the board, but after he gets out. Do you have any idea the kind of offers he would get to sit on company boards, and how much more he would be paid for his speeches, and how much more Fox News would want him as an analyst? They'd be like, this isn't just our clown that we brought in, Herman Clown Cain. No, this is a former Federal Reserve board member. Jesus Christ. So when he says black culture is wrong, it's really wrong, right? And so, or whatever else. When he says that the rich should get tax cuts, man, he was on the board of the Federal Reserve. No, are you kidding me? That's why he was so excited when he first got named. He's like, yes, I'm gonna cash in. I'm gonna have even more than 4 million people that I get reach per month. On my radio show? Sure. Anyway, so no, the real reason is, yes, partly they're gonna find out all those skeletons in his closet. Those skeletons are so bad. Remember, he actually was doing pretty well because the whole Republican Party is a clown show. When he was running for president, he dropped out of the race because the sexual harassment stuff was so bad, so toxic, that he wasn't going to survive it.
Yeah.
And so, but an even bigger reason is The Republican senators, they said it publicly. They're like, no, the guy's a total clown. No, go find, there's a million people who'll do exactly what we tell them to do.
Yes.
Who will support the policies that help the rich and aid and abet multinational corporations. There's a million of them. Pick a non-clown.
That's right, that's right. And
so he wasn't gonna get the seat. And it was gonna be super embarrassing when the Republicans voted him down.
Exactly, and so once those senators, which again included Mitt Romney, became very public about how they plan to vote against his confirmation, that's when aides surrounding Donald Trump started trying to convince him to avoid naming Herman Cain publicly, officially naming him. And Mitch McConnell had a talk with him and was like, and had a talk with other Republican senators and was like, yo, go talk to Trump and air your grievances. Let him know that you're concerned about Herman Cain.
And so why would Trump pull the nomination? Because he hates losing and being embarrassed. And if the Democrats and the Republicans joined forces to make sure that his selection was defeated, oof, oh man, that would sting. So when McConnell walks in and goes, here is X number of senators, Republican senators, we're gonna vote with the Democrats, and Herman Cain is gonna lose. He's like, well, I never wanted Herman. Herman says he doesn't even want it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, we're the one who made the strong decision to pull Herman Cain.
Yeah, he tweeted about it. He said, my friend Herman Cain, a truly wonderful man, has asked me not to nominate him for a seat on the Federal Reserve Board. I will respect his wishes. Herman is a great American who truly loves our country.
Yes.
Okay.
He said, please don't make me more rich and powerful, please. And I'm going to respect his wishes.
Right.
And then Herman Cain says that he was so happy that the president graciously decided to tweet that on his behalf. All right, Herman, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Now, the second person in question is Stephen Moore, and he is still up for the Federal Reserve Board. So let's talk about him. Stephen Moore is one of the individuals that Donald Trump has nominated to serve on the Federal Reserve. But there's an issue. Apparently CNN has come across a number of articles and op-eds that Moore has written for the National Review. Now to be fair, these op-eds are pretty old. They're from 1998 to about 2003, but they say some pretty misogynistic things. And honestly, that's kind of whitewashing it. Let me give you the details of what he had written. So in one of his columns for National Review, Moore decried the feminization of basketball generally and wrote that it was an obscenity that a woman was allowed to referee a men's NCAA game. An obscenity.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, there's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah.
Anna's gonna give you more quotes. But so look, the question is, did you change? So we'll get to the substance of that in a second, but I'm mainly greatly amused by some of his theories.
Me too.
Yeah, you're gonna love some of this stuff.
And let me be clear, before I read the rest, I wanna explain why I'm amused. For me, reading the way that he feels about these issues shows just this insecurity and this fear that I love. Right, so there's a little more equality. Obviously, there's been even more progress for women since he's written these things. And the fact that he's crying and whining about it is hilarious to me. So it doesn't upset me, it doesn't anger me. I'm more amused than anything. Let me read you more. Is there no area in life where men can take vacation from women? What's next? Women invited to bachelor parties? Which is, by the way, happening.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that kind of happens. If you're going to bachelor parties where they're not invited, you might have gone to the wrong party.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
I love what dorks they are. They're like, what's next? Women at bachelor parties?
Okay, but let me just say, your mind correctly went there, right? And my mind went to, because I'm a woman, so my mind went to, well, there are a lot of co-ed bachelor parties these days, like where the bride and the groom get their friends together and they all party together.
Sure. I mean,
no, that happens.
No, I know it happens. I'm just saying there's been co-ed bachelor parties for a long time.
I know. I didn't think about it in those terms.
But apparently not one that Stephen Moore went to. I like the other part of that too. Is there no place where men can take vacations from women? Well, they actually are. West Hollywood in LA, the Village in New York.
Yeah, but
It's a lot of places where you can take a vacation for women.
But what I also find amusing, just giving a woman's perspective on this. So he's trying to make a point about like, us men, we need a break from these women. Yeah, women need a break from you too. Trust me, right? So anyway, let me continue. Oh yeah. So then he talks about women in combat. Oh yeah, they've done that already. Why can't women ref the women's games and men the men's games?
These are the same guys who are always like, American military is #1, baby. Military is so strong. Well, women have been in combat for all that time. What happened? I thought we were supposed to fall apart. Look, one quick serious point. Women were not allowed into certain business organizations like the Rotary, et cetera. And you know what? It cost them a lot of business. And so my dad was one of the people who voted yes on allowing women into the Rotary because that's how it was back in the day. And he's like, yes, since they've come, you know what's happened? Nothing. We just do the same thing. We get together, we talk about business, we do some charity, we joke around a little bit, and now they get to do business deals too. But like, why is Stephen Moore and conservatives? Why are they so like?
It's insecurity.
Bothered by that. And dude, nobody's stopping you from going to a steak dinner with 3 of your best male friends. Like, there's no law against it.
No, there are laws. There are rules and regulations against meal time. You're not allowed to have alone time with your male friends. Okay, we're watching you, Stephen Moore. We're coming for you.
It's everything. I know. Look, it's a consistent theme with conservatives. Everything's about them being victims.
I know.
Why won't women leave me alone? Really, Stephen? That's your top problem? Women won't leave you alone?
Okay. So there's more. So he says, no more women refs, no women announcers, no women beer vendors, no women anything.
Women anything.
No, I know, it's hilarious. There is, of course, an exception to this rule. Women are permitted to participate and if and only if they look like Bonnie Bernstein. The fact that Bonnie knows nothing about basketball is entirely irrelevant. And then he says, Bernstein should wear a halter top. This is a no-brainer, CBS. So I didn't know who she was because I'm not in that world. So I'm guessing he was attracted to her.
Here's another solid guess, and I'd put his Federal Reserve Board seat on it. Bonnie Bernstein versus Stephen Moore in basketball trivia.
No women allowed. No women allowed in trivia.
Okay.
It reminds me of like the She-Man Women Haters Club or whatever it was from the Little Rascals. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
anyway,
that's right.
Yeah, he's a child. And then Bonnie Bernstein responded and said, you want hoops knowledge? Or you want halter tops, hit the club scene. You want hoops knowledge, try actually listening.
Yes, all right, I'm gonna do more. So look, he says it was a spoof piece and it was from 20 years ago.
There were several of them, by the way.
Yeah, and it goes on. And I'm gonna say one great one to that. Okay, but and I get that, I get it better than anybody does, right? But did you change Stephen Moore? And so are you now progressive, or even if your politics aren't progressive economically, for example, and you want tax cuts for the rich and you want more wars, okay, but are you, do you reject this point of view and do you now think, women should be allowed to do all these different activities, et cetera? You've never written that. You've never shown in any way, shape, or form that your opinions have changed. It's not like Stephen Moore is claiming to be a changed man. His politics didn't change, nothing changed. So it's one thing to say, hey, that was 20 years ago, very understandable, and I've changed. It's another thing to say, that happened 20 years ago, I totally believe the same things, but technically it happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And then to me, though, of course, the worst part is not what he said, but what he's done. In 2013, they found him in contempt of court for failing to pay his ex-wife more than $330,000 in alimony and child support.
Where are the fathers? That's what I want to know. Where are the fathers?
So here's the guy preaching personal responsibility, and he wouldn't pay for his kids. They had to lock him out of his own house and threaten to sell it. Then he's like, wait, that affects me. That's my house. I like that house. All right, God damn it, I'll pay my kids. Right? So, okay, that's family values apparently from the right wing. And lastly, let's end on fun. I love this screed against Pee Wee soccer. Why? He said it was, quote, particularly insidious. I've always wondered that about Pee Wee soccer. I always had a hunch that it was not just insidious, but particularly insidious. And so why? Because boys and girls play together. So here we go again. He's gonna say, oh my God, why are the boys? Because he keeps talking in a lot of these articles about how women are inferior, and so Venus Williams should not be paid as much as men. She's an inferior tennis player, etc. But no, hold the phone. It turns out he thinks at that age, girls are so much better than boys, it's not fair to the boys.
Insidious.
And he says it would do, quote, irreparable harm to the psyche of America's little boys.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's such snowflakes. It would never occur to me that my 8-year-old son playing soccer with girls would do irreparable harm to his psyche because the girls are so much better, obviously, at that age.
You should put him in therapy.
So, and he's amazing, man. Everything is about protecting their tiny, fragile ego. Like, oh no, the girls are better than me. The girls aren't better than me. They're not better than me. Why can't I get a safe space from girls? Okay, this guy is, by the way, not nominated for some, undersecretary position. Federal Reserve Board. Clownorama. Well, you bring the circus to town, don't be surprised when the clowns show up.
When we come back, we will talk about more clowns, including the right wing panicking over Elizabeth Warren's proposal to end student loan debt.